Welcome to SOF Bad Monkey Studios. Today we're doing something different. We got Villian6 Productions, which is a conglomeration of AfroBrutality, which has spawned Villian6 Productions. So in the studio, we have Sin and Johnny. All right, so what the fuck, guys?
See if I can take this off.
Oh, you can take. Okay, good.
Oh,
so, nice, excellent. So what we're doing today, we're coming up with a new show. It's Villian6, and what we're doing is we're gonna fucking attack racism. Primarily, we're gonna knock it down, show it for what it is. It's a fucking construct to keep us separated, and we're gonna talk about each of your experiences with that. Because looking at Sin, let's just be fucking real, a black dude from Harlem. And then we look at Johnny, and if you didn't know Johnny, if you just saw him on the fucking street, you're thinking this is some fucking tatted fucking neo-Nazi fucking crazy person. But, well, we met. We've had a couple hours of conversation, and I'm here to tell you that that's just not the case. So how we're going to run this is we're going to talk a couple minutes about Sin's experience, then we're going to break over to Johnny's experience, and then we're going to come together with what we're doing with Villian6 and how you're going to move the football down the field. So, Sin, tell us a little bit about yourself and how AfroBrutality came about.
So, I'm a product of my grandmother.
Right.
Who was an Indian on an Indian reservation.
Right.
And my grandfather, who was a Buffalo Soldier.
Right.
So they had this love affair. And spawned from that, he was actually there to get the Indians off the reservation. Plus a number of other things, and other governments showed up as well. Those people were displaced. My grandmother, with a tribe of her own, went into the city of Denver. She was pregnant at the time, had my mother. She dropped her off at a local hospital. That hospital called the fire department and picked her up. And then she was in an orphanage until she was adopted by a black military family.
How old was she? Did she tell you?
You know, those are touchy subjects.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
But as much as I could gather on my own, she was I don't think she got adopted until she was about 6 or 7.
6 or 7, right on.
So she spent a good amount of years in there.
Right.
And one of the times the orphanage was burnt down.
Right.
So that one was burnt down, and that's where a lot of the records were burnt down as well. So a lot of stuff we had to kind of piece together on our own. Yeah, man. From there, she, was adopted by a military family. She was raised on a ranch. So the chickens in the morning,
where
the
was the
pigs.
ranch at?
This is Manitou Springs. This is in the mountains of Colorado.
So like she goes, so grandma and grandpa make the trek. Grandma gets pregnant. Grandma drops her off at the hospital. Just because that's where she's at, She's mobile. She can't deal with it. She gets to the orphanage. She's at the orphanage for 6 or 7 years, growing up. And then her parents adopt her, and then they take her to a ranch in the fucking mountains.
Correct.
Right.
This is correct.
Right.
I never thought about it that way, but you're right. Yeah,
Right.
She pretty much went from the city
to the mountains. Right, exactly.
Raising chickens and pigs and
cows
horseback.
And horses.
Yeah,
oh
man,
my.
the whole thing.
Right.
And come to find out, one of the only places, because it was a military family, or
Right.
we're a military family, so commissary. You
Right.
go to the commissary, there's good sales, you can get good stuff at good prices. So she just grew up on a base for the most part. And when she wanted to cut up, when her and her friends wanted to cut up, they went to the military base. Some of them, if they knew somebody, she might be able to get there underage. You know what I mean? Like,
Are you talking about sliding into dances or whatever?
Exactly. Whatever it took. And that's where she met my father.
Right.
Yeah. And then he got her off that ranch. They had me in Youngstown, Ohio.
How old was she?
That's a great question. It's like, these are touchy subjects too, but like between 19 and 21.
19, okay.
Yeah. That's when she had me, between 19 and 21.
Well, that's a good time to leave the rancho, 19
You
and
would
21.
think so.
Right.
You would think so. So, from there was some issues. You're taking a military man who was an officer at the time, high IQ, certified genius, and you're giving him a kid and a wife, right? And my mother at the time was a very fireball she was, coming off the Black Panthers, with the Denver chapter. And
a Fireball, and I hear you, and I apologize for interrupting you, but she had a pretty tough go of it, right?
She did.
From the orphanage to the adoptive family,
That's
and
true.
then in that adoptive family, the first thing you're doing is, I'm sure she's up at 0 dark 30 picking eggs and feeding
That is
pigs,
correct.
doing all that shit. And then she signs up with this Air Force cat, who's an officer, who's fucking genius, like you said. And then, boom, you're out of that situation.
Right.
So she's out of that situation, and she's in Ohio, right?
Correct.
So she gets pregnant.
She had been pregnant already.
Oh, okay.
We had me in Ohio. We were
Right.
only there probably a month, if that.
Right.
Yeah, just so that the family could be part of my birth.
Right.
And then she was out of there.
And when did she get indoctrinated into the Black Panthers, for lack of a
That was
better
during
term?
college.
Right.
College.
And this is when she was in Manitou Springs?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So more than likely when she got into college, there's no Manitou Springs College. So,
Right.
again, I'm piecing these together. These are
Right.
sensitive, subjects. Clearly she was in somewhere the metro of Denver.
Right.
So, and I think now I remember it was like Loretta Heights College or something like that. Now it's starting to come back to me. But yeah, that's where she started to get the black thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, there's black people. Oh, wow, y'all do this, you do that. So
Right.
sort of what I went through as well. But, she went to it at that age at a collegiate level.
Right.
So that's where her first. So it must have been like, wow, this is the best thing on the planet. And she ate it up.
Well, your brain's opening up to a bunch of different subject matter.
That's
and then
true.
she's pretty much encapsulated on that farm in Colorado. So I'm sure she didn't see a bunch of people of color, right? Because when you're
None.
in town,
None.
exactly. So then
None.
she's in college, she's in this situation, and then she has this experience. So of course she's going to latch onto it.
Yeah, and she took it all the way. So she took it all the way to the Black Panthers.
Right.
All the way. And held on to it. Her and my father had some issues. Again, you're taking a genius, also military, very disciplined, and then
Right.
you're saying, go change the diapers. Or you're saying, go get the milk.
Right.
Oh, you forgot the stick of butter. That's issue. That's an issue. So
Right.
there was some separation there. And my mother stayed with her collegiate people. So we're talking still black power everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. Blue lights in the basement with, I'm sure things were happening. I was
Right.
like probably 3 at the time. So I can't tell you exactly what was going on, nor would I. But
Right. Not in this format anyway.
exactly. But for the most part, they were doing collegiate things. Right.
Right.
So she was with her college buddies. And then that's when I started to see my mother activate herself into the corporate world. Arthur Anderson, it was an accounting firm. She jumped all over that. Brought me in, so I was there seeing her do the transitions through corporate America, right? So I was raised into this. So here I am at home getting the militancy, and then, for lack of a better term, I'm going to school with the devil. I'm going to school with the enemy, right? And she's telling me this.
That was a common theme when you were growing up.
Oh
Black
yeah,
God,
that
white
was
devil.
that was the.
That
Well,
was
they
the
didn't
thing.
bring in the God. I'll tell you that they didn't bring in the God. They
You just
brought
threw
in the
that out
Black
there.
Jesus.
You just threw that out
No,
there.
I
eating the
inherited
shit
that.
up.
No, I inherited that later on.
Yeah.
But that was the natural progression of this type of information.
Well, Jesus was a black dude. Let's
And
just be clear.
that's where it started.
Right.
Right. And then
Right.
it went all the way. But for the most part, I'm getting this. I'm at Catholic school, right? And
Right.
then I also get in the corporate culture. And that's truly where you get AfroBrutality from. Truly.
Cool. So, how old were you when you started AfroBrutality?
I was 37,
Right.
and it was in 2008.
2008, and you saw the need for that for a counterculture
Correct.
that black people could fucking relate to.
Absolutely.
Right. So did it start? Was it were you primarily geared towards working out? Were you primarily geared towards street apparel? Were you
Great
what were
questions.
you geared toward?
So the concept of AfroBrutality came through the fitness. So here I am in CrossFit, and
Right.
at the time it was just people like Johnny and Navy SEALs and Marines and Army, or guys that were preparing themselves to be recruited
Right.
by the branches of government or these particular branches of military, right? So I was around these people all the time, and I'm like, if I'm gonna put something in front of these people, this shit is not gonna be whitewashed.
Shit needs to be hard.
This shit needs to be hard as fuck, and we need to be about it.
and
So I
gritty
built myself,
and authentic.
Yeah, I built myself and my team around me of people that was just heavy hitters.
Right.
And when it came to like, how are we going to, where I'm going to design the logo, I went back to thoughts of when I was a kid and watching, Ghost Rider, with that flaming skull. And I was like, man, that was the hardest thing I had ever seen in my life when I saw fucking Ghost Rider. So I started just kind of thinking and designing around that concept of, okay, that flame could represent something else. And that's where I kind of got the afro from. And I was like, that's it right there. So when it was time to present myself to the world, and at the time it was CrossFit, people like, Johnny, how the fuck am I gonna bring some real whitewashed, diaper pale shit? So I said, man, this is the hardest thing I could come up with. What do you think? And they were like, what the fuck? We've been waiting for this all our lives, man. Where the fuck you been? So that's truly where it came from, being around people like Johnny all the time and just having to have that real hard edge counterculture to it and let it be real.
Excellent. Well, that's a perfect segue into Johnny. So, Johnny, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from Pennsylvania, Folsom,
Right.
Pennsylvania. It's Delaware County, a couple of minutes outside of Philadelphia.
Right.
I was born and raised there. Great parents, great family life growing up. Grew up kind of lower middle class. I always say the story I always tell is my dad, when he bought the house that I grew up in, it was a move out of an area, Chester. Chester was a kind of a ghetto area. It had gone bad for quite some time and a lot of crime and whatnot. So he was trying to move us into a good neighborhood, moved into Ridley Township in Folsom, and it cost more than 3 of his paychecks per month to pay the mortgage. So obviously that was leaving 1 week to pay for everything else. So I always say I never knew that we were quote unquote poor.
Yeah, that's
no
what I
idea.
liked from mine in your first interview over here, that you didn't know that you were poor until later.
No, not until
That's fucking good
middle
shit
school,
right
high
there.
school, when you start getting
And
picked
and
on.
while you and I are sitting here talking, I'm trying to ignore the fact that,
Yeah, I know.
Since we out here lighting a
fucking
joint
blazed over.
and
I don't
know what
fidgeting
the
around.
fuck you expected. Have you seen my content online, brother?
No.
This is what I do.
All right.
We're trying to get serious. He's trying to perpetuate the stereotype.
No,
Yeah,
He's-
man.
no,
I'm a
he's
nigga
doing-
smoking weed. Fuck it.
So anyway,
Yeah, so I mean that was the deal. Pretty normal. I say normal. I was,
normal lower middle
Yeah,
class.
it was-
Fucking. What
normal
your
for
what your
where
dad
I
do?
was.
you,
My
nigga.
dad was a plumber. My
Right.
grandfather was a plumber. My uncles were plumbers. That was the business.
Oh
Right.
my God.
And my neighborhood, you were either Irish or Italian.
Right.
That was it. And you played ball, played in the streets, did whatever. That was, pretty good place to grow up. Good
Right.
times. Had a great childhood. I got into some things when I was young. I was always, moderately intelligent.
Right.
I was published when I was a kid. And
Right.
stuff
How
like
old
that.
were you when you were published for the first time?
The first short story I had published, I was in first grade. It was
How many
published in-
words?
I don't remember. It's about a turtle detective.
That's
pretty
cool as
badass.
shit though.
It was pretty badass.
Hey,
But that shit was-
the reason I want to point that out, because the fucking elephant in the room, right? Johnny's got fucking tattoos all over his fucking head and his
What are
neck.
you talking about, Steve? I don't see a motherfucking
Yeah,
thing
right.
here, man. This
Shut
shit is
up!
beautiful.
Shut
telling
up!
you, man,
Shut up!
I'm
You
beautiful.
keep fucking smoking, you'll see him.
Yeah.
No, but anyway, but my point.
See the ice cream? Hold on. Since you brought it up.
Oh yeah,
Gucci Mane.
what is that all about, by the way?
Gucci Mane, man, Bird.
Oh, that's right.
So it's
I got you. All right,
Just like
then.
me, man. Trust me.
That's it.
Just like me.
Exactly. That's the whole
Just like
fucking
me.
Gucci
point.
got that shit on his face. I thought it was hilarious. I got sporks. We have a game that we played. My friends
Right.
and I called a tattoo game. So basically, how it works is like, if you and I are playing, then you get to pick what I get to pick what you get, but we don't get to see it until it's done.
Right.
Right, so you have no idea what you're getting on you. It's a bit like, and there's a couple of rules. Like you can't put racist stuff, you can't put like gay stuff, you can't put names. So
Right.
Those are the only 3 things that you can't do. But other than that, you can get whatever the fuck you want. My legs are covered in dumb shit that my friends thought was funny. You know what I mean?
Well, we're probably gonna be filming something in the summer, and we'll see that.
Yeah, we
but
gotta
my
do some,
my
we got to play the game. Yeah.
well, I'm not gonna play the game, but I hear you knocking.
Jason will play. Maybe we get Jason.
But my point is, you're fucking published in first grade,
Yeah.
and if you never took the fucking time to talk to you, there's no way you would know that.
There's
And
that-
if you never took the time to talk to you, Sin, there's no way that you would be fucking one of the cats being who you are and wearing what you're wearing, but saying fucking racism is total bullshit. That's the fucking point we're trying to bring out here. So anyway, you're published to about the Turtle Detective, right?
So that was pretty cool.
That's first grade. That is pretty cool.
College literary thing.
Yeah.
Prior to that, my mom worked in the library, so I used to go to work with her when I was a kid. Before my sister was in school before I started kindergarten. So I was reading and writing when I was 3 years old.
Right.
My mother used to drop me off at the library for 8 hours a day.
Oh yeah, man. The library was where it's.
Were you reading and writing in there, Sin?
Yeah.
Nice.
Every time you had to learn something, my mother dropped me off for the day. Oh, nigga, we're picking you up at night. Oh, okay, mama.
But I had, I was really into dinosaurs. I wanted to be a paleontologist.
Right.
And so anyway, I went through this one book. I had every book in the library on dinosaurs. And
right.
one of the books had the Latin name for this dinosaur incorrect. I don't know what Sin's doing back here.
We're the same. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. And that's the point.
But so anyway, the Latin was incorrect on this dinosaur. So I told my mom. My mom writes a letter to the publisher, and now in the second edition of that book, there's an acknowledgement that it was corrected by a 4-year-old or whatever it was at that point.
Nice.
I still have a letter from the publisher. It's pretty cool.
I want to see that. We got to bring that
I'll
in,
bring the letter
or
in.
just fucking photograph and email it to me. We'll put that up when we're putting this whole package together. That's good shit.
I have the letter. My mom gave me a big box of shit, and that was in there.
Yeah.
I forgot about it until now.
So through school, you're going through school, and how's that looking for you?
School was good. I mean, I was tested. My sister was in an experimental gifted kid program.
Right.
She's 4 years older than me, and they met in the library. So
right.
The guy that ran the program kind of met me because I was tagging around my mom. So he tested me. I was the youngest kid in the history of the school district to get placed in that.
Right.
So I tested when I was 5 years old. They did my IQ and all that, and then put me in this. So I had a school in the beginning. I mean, I had the normal elementary school thing, but I was getting pulled out of school to go on field trips, going to the opera, going to the ballet, all that kind of crap.
Right.
So a lot of
to energize both sides of your brain. That's why.
So I was doing. I built like a life-size model. Well, not a life-size, a huge model of the human heart.
Right.
Like second grade or whatever. I won a bunch of awards for that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that was school, and then when I was 17,
right?
Decided I was going in the military. I mean, my grandfather on my mom's side survived Pearl Harbor.
Right.
He was one of the original Rangers, one of the first American black belts in judo. Was a bad dude. You know, he died when I was 6 years old, so I didn't know
too much about him. Yeah.
I didn't learn too much about him until I was older. Actually, after the first time I got locked up for PTSD is when I found out. You know, PTSD related shit. That's when I really learned about him. But yeah, he 17. I just it was time to go, and I went Army at a Ranger contract.
Right.
So the path was infantry school, airborne school, Ranger indoctrination program, and that was that. Broke my leg the first time through. Got
through the
recycled.
Ranger indoctrination program.
Yeah, so infantry school, drum school, everything. First time through, broke my leg, and I told you this story before. Basically, had stayed there as a holdover. There was an altercation with a senior NCO that ran the program.
Right.
Kind of getting into it with the guys that had slipped me back in the course because I was supposed to go needs of the Army, which would have meant Korea. And, this was pre 9/11, by the way. This was 2000, and so basically, kind of got a little bit of a raw deal there.
Right.
Ended up with getting in some trouble, and from there, it was
NJP out of the deal. Non-judicial punishment?
Article 15.
Right,
okay.
okay.
It's the same kind of a thing, but basically DRF, or not DRF, what the hell they call it, RFS, release for standards.
Right.
Prior to, so basically I wasn't graduating. So,
right.
So, I went to 82nd then, 82nd Airborne.
Right.
A year to the day after I enlisted, I left my house on September 11th of 2000, and then the towers got hit. We were on DRF 1 status, was Division Ready Force 1.
Right.
We were the QRF, the Quick Reaction Force for the nation.
Right.
On 9/11. So I was coming out of the showers after PT and my towel around me, walking down the hall. We had the old World War II barracks there, Bragg, and everybody's crowded around this TV in the one room. Go in there.
Were you the only guy standing there with an erection?
No, it was perfectly normal. More often. I mean, I had the largest one, but
right, of course.
But
just to be clear.
Yeah, I mean, most of them, most people had erections back then. We took care of those quick though. We got them.
Right, I got you.
We handled it. But yeah, so It was wild, you know, that obviously the people always say, oh, I remember the first plane hit. It's like, no, the fuck you don't. Nobody saw it until after the first plane hit. Obviously, we're sitting there watching this building and the first plane hit. Like, shut up. That drives me nuts when people say that. I remember the first one and then the second. I was like, fuck you. You didn't see the first one hit. But, yeah, so we were watching that. And, of course, knowing we were QRF, it was like, dude,
guess what's next?
When the second plane hit, when everything kind of was happening, one of the guys in my unit that was sitting in the room was just like, I guess we're going to war. And it was crazy. It was a surreal moment. Everything was quiet. And then it was kind of like any given Sunday, halftime, after Pacino's speech, it was just like fucking erupted, man. And we were all going ape shit. I mean, I'm getting chills right now.
Yeah, me too, actually, on my legs.
It was the craziest fucking experience. That was wild. They took all our phones, took all our shit.
How many dudes were in there? 70?
Well, I'm just speaking for my platoon.
Right. How many in your platoon?
30 guys.
Oh, 30 guys.
30 guys, whatever. But yeah, I mean, and then, we got called out in formation, all this kind of stuff. Couldn't talk to anybody, couldn't contact anyone. And then Pope Air Force Base, they had Green Ramp, which is where we would stage out of the jump.
Right.
And so we sat at Green Ramp, had parachutes, everything. We're ready to jump in Afghanistan that night.
Right.
And
that's a long fucking flight, like 22 hours.
17, yeah. But I mean, we weren't in shoots, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it was staged to go to if we were going to go.
Go grab your shit.
So we were still waiting. It was just chaos,
man.
It was chaos. So we were waiting to find out, what was happening. Second Ranger Battalion and a group of other people went that night, and we ended up holding tight. We were QRF stateside. There was some talk about us going to New York. There was some talk about us going to various places, and then I ended up going the end of 2002 and 2003 to Afghanistan.
Right.
For OEF 3. So there was basically all the intel had come at that point for where everyone was held up after they scattered. So
right.
It was a busy deployment. It was a good one.
Right.
So that was.
So I don't mean to glass over that, but the point is, and we'll talk about that in follow-on episodes because we'll probably get at least 60 minutes of talking about your time downrange and things of that nature. But so you can, and because where we're going with this, and I know you saw it over there, the fucking racism is just bullshit because there's too many fucking times. Especially downrange, you got to rely on guys. It doesn't fucking matter what color you are.
Well,
we're going to do this.
One of the things I used to say, like about the military and specifically with the subject of racism, and I mean, where I grew up, like my neighborhood was pretty racist, just kind of like indoctrinated into that. You know what I mean? Like I said, it was all Irish and Italian white guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so seeing a black guy was kind of rare. I mean, now neighboring towns, it was common, but it was very segregated. You know what I mean? And so, that was kind of like the culture. It was just the culture that blacks were racist towards us and vice versa. It was kind of how it was. It was a neighborhood thing. And, but going in the military, man, it was totally different because it's this fucking melting pot. You're with everybody. And so you start developing all these bonds and friendships. And not that I had any kind of like hardcore racist ideology to begin with, but it was just, you start just meshing with people that you wouldn't otherwise mesh with. So the thing I always said about the military was that it's probably the least racist environment I've ever been in, but there were more racial slurs and racial jokes than any other place in the world, right? So there was constantly more joking and slurs and all this shit that would just go on in that environment, but everything was in good fun. Nobody got offended.
See, that's exactly it right there.
Everybody clowned on everybody, but we got along. Now, if we went out in town or whatever, we're in some bar and somebody's going to say something, then it's like, all right, fuck you, then it's on. Right. You got to deal with all of us now,
Well, exactly. Got to deal with all of us.
Yeah,
and I think in that situation where you run into that stuff because you're around each other, you're in your environment. So guys are fucking with
these fucking people.
Yeah,
you know what
and
I mean?
they're fucking with each other nonstop.
Right.
And you know that it's all in good fun. There's no fucking teeth in it. It's just fucking nonsense.
Absolutely not.
So then you get done with your time in the military and then you come home. What's that look like?
Well, came home. A lot of it was a blur. I think we talked about that before. Like I always say, like I don't remember a big part of that.
Right.
And it's not that I don't remember it specifically, but it's just where my mind was at. I don't really know. I mean, I came out. I had planned on going back in the military. I was taking some time off because of some stuff that we'll get into, I'm sure. But I was playing music. I mean, I was in two different bands while I was in the Army.
Playing what?
While I was sang. I was in hardcore bands. So, we're sitting here in New York City, New York's big for hardcore. You know, Philadelphia with a big hardcore scene.
You look like a hardcore artist, Johnny.
Yeah, well, I've gotten that before. You
It
know?
is. You've heard that before.
I've heard that before. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of the world and culture that I was in.
Right.
You know, when I was in high school and everything, and then when I went away, you know, I played in bands in North Carolina, and I met up with bands. Like I got involved with Frankie and Brian, two good friends of mine from Boston, in a band called Death Before Dishonor, and so I kind of got into that culture. So when I came back home, all the Philly guys that were around, I kind of fell in with, and my good friend Joe Hardcore, Joe McKay, he's one of my best friends. You know, kind of started running with those guys, and it was at the time it was a pretty wild scene. I mean, there was a lot of things going on in that world that were, you know, talk about a counterculture, that were pretty wild. So it kind of evolved, and you know, ended up in that whole gang environment. And
Right.
Spent a good amount of time there and traveling and being involved in that mess. And like I
Right.
say, that whole era is kind of a blur. Some great times, some great people, but it was almost like coming out of the military. I never really fully had to do that hard stop and come home, because I went from one kind of environment like
right.
that to another environment like that for several years.
Well, the gang mentality and that gang culture is very similar. There's a fucking hierarchy,
Right, absolutely.
and there's orders that are carried out. Period.
Right, and it was
you're accountable.
It was a meritocracy, which was a bit different than the military. I mean, the military, to a degree, is like that, but it was, you know, the meritocracy thing, in that, you know, you move up and you just get more notoriety with the more big and bold shit that you do. So
Exactly.
but that was
And so when all that stuff came to a close, and you formed a group of individuals, and they were working out in your house.
Yeah,
and
and
you were calling that Gray Skull Nation.
Gray Skull. Well,
right?
it was Gray Skull, yeah.
It was Gray Skull.
Gray Skull Gladiator Academy at the time, yeah.
Exactly, and that is how that's how you and Sin met.
Yeah.
And then Sin had mentioned Sin and I have got together and had several conversations. You and I have got together and had a couple conversations, but Sin had mentioned his particular, I don't want to say attraction because that's the wrong word, but when you
He
and
is
Sin,
very attracted to me.
Well-
but I'm handsome.
well, other than the obvious sexual connotations to that.
I know.
But I mean, I'm talking about the energy and the personality and what you stand for and who you are. So you, coming from AfroBrutality, you reached out to Johnny on Johnny's blog, and like the first question is like, "Are you fucking for real? Who are you?
Exactly.
What the hell's going on?" And then,
Well,
Basically
I
how
didn't
it went.
want to. I didn't even say it like that, but of course that was the
well,
intent. I
that's-
said,
that's
"Can
where
I
you were
see
coming
you?"
from,
I was like, "Listen, man, can I come see you?"
right?
Right.
And he was like, "Yeah, man." He sent me the address. I said, "Listen, we're coming tomorrow, or whatever that weekend was."
Right.
And I didn't fuck
Yeah.
around. Like,
Right.
we're coming right now, because he just said two things that blew my mind:
Let's hear him.
Gray Skull.
Right?
And then he said, "Where egos are buried,
I like
and
it.
monsters are born."
That's right. That was the
And
original.
he had the
I like
illest
it.
fucking
slogan,
picture
man.
of a backyard. It had
Yeah, that was-
tires and
that was
dumb
my
shit.
backyard.
I said, "What the fuck is this? Can I come check this out?"
That started, I'd gotten into bodybuilding pretty heavy. I mean, I was into it when I was in high school, and then when I got out, and I didn't want to train like that. I was dicking around fucking doing bodybuilding training for a while. I had a couple of guys that I trained with, and then I was just like, man, this is fucking not what I'm about. You know, I went to a
Right.
couple of bodybuilding shows, and I was just like, I didn't compete, but other guys that I was there with, and I'm like, I'm watching these dudes like oiling up in Speedos, and I'm like, dude, like, this is not what I'm about, man. Like,
You're
what the
not down
fuck?
with that? You're not
No,
like
well, I mean,
watching.
do it with the
You're not
contest.
watching men's gymnastics in your free time.
A glass of wine or something is this different story.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, some Neil Young or something going. You know, Neil Diamond, I should say. It's more of a Neil Diamond thing. But anyway, you get you get fucking. I just decided I wanted to train. You know, I wanted to train for something.
For real.
Yeah, you know, and so as a friend of mine and I got a piece of 6-inch PVC pipe. Again, I said my family business was plumbing.
Right?
And so big 6-inch PVC, filled it with crushed stone, capped the ends, and made a log.
Right?
I know you know something about log PT.
I'm familiar
right?
with log PT.
So that was it. We went on log runs at 6 a.m. and that was the first piece of equipment I had was a log we named Lucy.
Right?
And from there, it just evolved. It built the pull-up bars, built the dip bars, all this shit. Again, my dad and I out there cutting and threading black pipe. And
I like
up
it.
And setting everything into the ground with concrete. And so, yeah, the backyard gym became built. And essentially, it's like a prison yard gym. I mean, for lack of a better way to describe it.
And what was it? What attracted Sin to you was your amount of time playing with Black Pipe. It sounds like.
That's what
right?
it was.
Oh
yeah.
my God!
Well, I was good at it.
That was not the moral of the
Right.
story.
It was absolutely.
Can we
good at
change
it.
that?
No. So
I was
anyway,
playing with Black Pipe since I was a boy.
good to know.
Oh
So
my God.
anyway, Sin.
This nigga really said
No,
this.
and all joking aside, and we're gonna make jokes like that,
business, son.
but to fucking bring us back around, you reached out to him, and you could see that he was authentic and genuine. So you send this email to Johnny on his blog.
Give it a sec.
Right?
I wanted to know for sure.
Well, no. Were you like when fucking we met? Want to sit down and talk to you because
Yeah.
if you're fucking
Let
full
me
of shit,
sit
then
down.
we're done. Yeah.
Can I come?
Right. Of course.
I didn't give a fuck if the motherfucker was in a different state. I didn't give a shit.
Right.
I lucked out that he was only 4 hours away, man.
Right.
If the nigga was in Kentucky, I'd have been Kentuckian.
Right.
I didn't give a fuck where he was. I was going.
Right.
Because it looked too good. I was like,
So then you get out there.
this looks too good.
So then you get out there, and there were several trips that went down, right?
Right. Well, the first one
So what was the draw?
it was the picture in that slogan. That was
Right?
it.
And then you get out there and you meet Johnny and you see that he's not fucking talking about it. He is about it. Period.
That's true.
Right?
course you're shortcutting
there's
it,
an energy
but yes.
that comes across
Yeah, I
there.
mean,
What
it
is
was-
that energy is what I'm asking.
It was real.
Right.
It was super real.
Right.
It was everything of why I wanted to get into CrossFit in the first place.
Right. But see, when you get out there and you see Johnny and you see he's fucking covered with tattoos and shit, so like
Well,
when I
His
hear
head
you
wasn't even covered at that time.
No, but when you see him, he's got him on his neck and shit. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a thing. So
I don't even know if they were on the neck.
Yeah, they were at that point. The big.
Right.
In my head, I just had a rough night. And I woke up and I looked like this. I got asshole friends. You got to fucking learn how to use a Sharpie or something, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Come on, but anyway, no. I mean, I think where the confusion or whatever you want to call
synergy
it
was,
is
yeah.
with Sin. What he's saying is that it was had a lot less to do with what I looked like. Or
I
whatever.
didn't give a fuck what he looked
And
like.
and that's the
I didn't
point.
give a
Right.
That's the
motherfucker.
whole point.
What it was-
I didn't care where
what it
he
was
lived.
because
I
the-
didn't care what he looked like. I had to see this guy.
Right, but
With
then
my own
what I'm
eyes.
saying is,
The
when
fuck?
saying about it being real was at that point what Sin was about, what I was about was the fitness thing. So
Right.
that's how he found me, was through the fitness thing. We're doing similar things. He sees the backyard gym. He sees that stuff. But when he came down and he saw the women and the girls, everybody that I had training with me, that they were fucking hot shit, right? That was the thing. That's what he's saying about it being the real
And
deal.
it's not so
Is it
much the
wasn't-
physical attractiveness. It's like these people
Right,
were
right, no, no.
athletes
Yeah,
and
they
they're
were
serious
putting work
about
in.
getting
They were
stronger.
putting serious
Yeah.
work in. They
Right.
were doing impressive shit.
But
He
that
had a
was-
group of people doing
that was
impressive shit.
pre-taco. Wasn't that pre-taco?
We're gonna need a definition on what pre-taco
That
means.
was pre-taco.
Pre-taco. That's the whole
Pre-taco.
grade school
What's
library.
that mean?
Taco was a former girlfriend of mine. She was
she was
a
fucking
badass
strong
athlete.
as
She was.
shit, dude.
Very
Okay.
strong.
So
And
that
they called her
was so now
Taco.
we've
Yeah,
they called her
cleared it
Taco,
up. That was
Taco.
pre-taco. Okay,
Right.
good.
Was that pre-taco?
I don't know.
The first trip.
It might have been Peri Taco. I'm not sure. Pre-Peri or post-taco. I'm not sure.
Oh my god, man! I can't.
All
But
right.
anyway, the point is, there was a lot of people putting in good work
Yeah, man.
down there. He had a bunch of people doing the same. So we saw eye to eye on that right away. you know.
Right?
Yeah, he just made the values different.
No, Taco was not Mexican. She was Italian.
Was taco Mexican?
We got if for
We
those
get
of you that can't
questions
see
already.
it,
I couldn't read the
we got
questions already.
we got questions coming in from the
Yeah.
audience. And
Oh
shit, so-
shit! Okay,
No,
well.
just being real. Just
all
being
right,
real.
all right, shit.
So
No,
anyway,
Taco was
Sin
Mexican.
gets out there and he sees your tribe, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
that are around
It
you.
wasn't-
The people
well,
that are
it
putting
was-
the work in.
No,
Go ahead,
was,
say it.
It wasn't the tribe. It was you as an individual.
Yeah, but he was collecting individuals that
was,
wanted to be into
but it-
that energy.
Yeah, no,
That's true.
I hear what you're saying, Sin.
Right.
Like, I mean, Sin and I had hit it off. We had similar things going on. We had
Right.
similar groups of people
Yeah.
going on, but it was he and I that connected.
Right.
Totally.
I mean, it was never anything else than that, man. That was
Right.
first day one, man. The day one. That was
Absolutely.
10 years ago.
We got into badminton and shit. Man.
Yeah.
So day one, you
street
guys
badminton.
meet. Walk us through that.
So I pull up. and
In
this
what? What are
is-
you driving?
I'm man, what was I driving? I would think I was driving a Ford Edge.
Uh-huh.
So I had
So
like
you
a
did
light
have a Ford
beige Ford Edge,
So-
right?
Mm-hmm.
And we pull up. It's me and
remember
two
that.
of my guys.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
Brooklyn rules. You don't go by yourself.
I got you.
So, I brought some with me just in case. I
Just
didn't
in
know
case
what
the
we
shit
was
goes
going
down.
into.
I hear you.
And we was, I could do it, right? And I got two other guys with me that could do it too. So I said, all right, we're safe. So we pull in, And it was like a bunch of just like garages
Right.
connected to each other.
The industrial garage.
And
Right.
then he comes out, you know, he pulls the shit out, he comes out, and I was like, fuck is this?
What do you mean? He pulls his shit out. What's that mean?
No, like, okay, so he
that's how I
comes.
introduced myself. I just dropped
Just
it.
drop it.
That's not what I
out there.
meant.
Smacks him with his
That's not what I
wiener.
meant.
That's it, man.
That's not what I meant.
Okay.
I meant like he comes, you know, he walks out, he's got his jacket on, he's got this hat on,
Right.
and I'm like, all right, here we go. Like,
Right.
Here he is. And then he took his hat off, and I'm like, oh, here we go, here it is. And tattoos, and I'm like, oh, here we go, here it is.
Right.
So I didn't know what I was looking at.
Right. So
But
then
I
you
didn't-
start talking.
Yeah, then we start talking, and then I was like, oh shit, this is something else.
Right.
And then I connected immediately. I was like, okay, this is a once in a lifetime
Right.
kind of meetup.
Right.
Him, me from who I am and my background, and him. I said, man, this is super powerful right now.
Right.
And I could see it immediately. So I just was, anything he was doing, I was a part of. I didn't care what it was. Anything he was selling, I bought, no matter what it was. You know, we never really wore that shit,
But you bought it
love
anyway.
the nigga,
Consistent,
and we
yeah.
took some pictures in it, and we sent it to him. But we kept showing up, man. Me and my crew, I kept going over and over and over and over and over, and I didn't care how long it took to get there.
Right.
We were coming. I wanted other people to witness this. We would talk about it on the way home. Like, damn, what did you think? They was like, yo, this nigga this shit is real.
Right.
And he's not a skinhead. Okay, we win.
Right.
That's all we needed to know. Do you like us? Like, are you
Right.
gonna shoot us?
Right.
He said, no, man, we good. And then that was it. I said,
We
shit,
did,
this
we
is.
did hang Carlos though.
Yeah, we did.
We did hang.
And
him.
we'll show that.
Let's
picture.
hear about that. You hung Carlos. I got to know what that
it was-
means.
There was a
We
picture.
got our own language, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta hear
You
it.
got to deal with us.
There
Well,
was-
explain
You
it.
got to deal with us.
his friend Los is got long dreads and all. He's a really good dude. He was one of the original guys coming down with Sin. And,
Yeah, first guy.
First guy.
First guy.
Los is great. He's a good friend as well. And he did I think he was doing a vertical jump or something. We had these
Right.
skulls that were hanging above this like loft thing.
Uh-huh.
And
I'll send you the picture.
Yeah, so we do like these vertical
I'll save all
jumps.
that shit. We'll put it all together.
I'll send you all that.
So he did. He was doing like a vertical leap thing or whatever, and he came down and his arms were at his side, and the girl that was taking pictures took a picture at that split second, and for all the world, it just looks like he's hanging from the loft, and it was
Oh,
perfect.
because his dreads are up and he's down?
No, they're not up. It just looks like he's hanging. Like if you had a, like if you
it's almost
photoshopped
like
a
where the
rope on there, it's
baseboard
perfect.
is, where the baseboard is,
Mm-hmm.
and he came right down and damn near the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of hit him at the right time where it
Yeah.
looked like he was hanging.
Just looks like he's hanging there, which was
Yeah,
funny
it's
because
crazy.
you got, you know, this
I'll
black
send you
guy
the
from
picture.
Harlem
It'll
hanging
make
in
sense.
Grayskull, and
Yeah.
all the people shit talking about, you know, me being this Nazi, and here's this black guy that looks like
Right.
he's hanging in my gym. It was
Yeah.
funny.
Well, so that
We knew
that's-
instantly that we were both giving each other credibility.
Right.
We knew it instantly. Once he started telling people about me and I started telling people about him, we knew instantly
Yeah.
that
Well-
meetup was giving us both a lot of credibility.
So you come down, and by all intents and fucking purposes, you see Johnny at first, and you're thinking, "What the fuck did I get
What
into?
did just happen?
What did
We're
I
about
do?
to die,
I
nigga.
just drove fucking
We're
3
dead.
hours to get fucking smoke checked
4.5.
in my fucking Ford Edge.
Ford
beige.
Edge, gray.
So
gray,
not
beige,
only am I
beige.
going, I brought 2 bros with me, so we're all
We're
dead.
all dead.
They're gonna fucking cut us up and
We're
feed us
done.
to the pigs, right?
The banjo music I had
The
probably
banjo?
didn't help. That probably
Right?
didn't help either, but it was definitely.
Do you tell him he's got a pretty mouth?
I tell him that all the time. I
I don't want to hear any of this
He
language.
has to hear it.
Right.
He has to hear
I
it
don't
every
want to
day,
hear
or
any
he
of
gets a
this
little
language.
upset.
So with
Gets
all that
upset.
stuff going on, I'm sure each of you have seen the fucking race baiting and fucking bullshit that's going on. So
absolutely, man.
how do you fucking feel about that personally? Let's start with you, Sin. Because no, looking at your fucking
It's
bro here,
bullshit.
Johnny, right?
It's straight bullshit.
Right. And you
Anybody will tell you on any level, like if there's a devil manifestation, it ain't got no color. It ain't got it's black, it's brown, it's yellow, and that goes for the other part of it, where
Right.
it's holy, where it's righteous. There's no color on that shit, and it takes a long time to really get to the point of that, right?
right?
And now it's like between Johnny and I, we can get that shortcut. We'll get you there quicker.
Right.
You can understand our history, our matchup, and why we did this, and why.
Well, you've witnessed the race baiting on a whole fucking different level. You were talking about
Yeah.
when you were in Colorado,
Yeah.
you were the biggest sellers at certain larger department stores were fucking red and blue.
That's true.
What the fuck's that called? You got one on your bandanas.
Yeah, man.
And then also the oversized dickies. If you don't want that shit to go forward, you don't sell that.
Of course you do.
Is that a penis joke?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Oversized dicky.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, this fool. We start with the jokes.
We digress. But anyway,
we're on camera.
if you didn't want,
Supposed to remind
of
you.
course we're on camera.
On
If you
camera,
didn't want
man.
that
All this
shit
shit is being
to
recorded.
continue, you would think that you'd stop selling that stuff. You would think.
That's what I'm saying.
But they're not.
supplying that shit.
That is.
It's
They're
supply and
supplying
demand.
it. It's just supply and demand still. This
Right.
is America, man.
But no,
What are you talking
I
about?
grasp all the different strands of capitalism. I understand how that works clearly.
Yeah.
And what about on your side? Was there the individuals that were hanging out at Gray Skull with you? Sin and his crew shows up. How did that come across?
Absolutely fine. There wasn't any issue. Nobody that see the part of the thing too. I mean, we talked about the gang
Right.
days. In the gang days, I mean, one of the biggest misconceptions. I think it's comical. People look at me and would think I was a neo-Nazi. I mean, the
Right.
gang that I was a part of
Right.
started by fucking up neo-Nazis.
Right.
That's exactly what the gang was. That's if anybody wants to do the research on
Not
that.
that
they
I'm
can
saying
see.
I'm for that, but I
But
am
was the thing.
for that.
No, I mean, I was
You're a research
it
guy.
Was neo-Nazis within the hardcore scene. And
Right.
they came in and Nazi skinheads and they caused problems, and it started up in Boston. And these guys would smash them out.
Right.
You know? And so that spread. It ended up being like 13 chapters at one point. But the thing was that, that wasn't tolerated. The overt racism. And like I said, even within that community, I mean, we had within that gang community, I'm not going to say that we didn't ever
Right.
mix it up with black
Whomever.
gangs or Puerto Rican gangs or whatever. I mean, we did. But and we weren't all white. There was all colors within that gang. But
Right.
the point is that people would look at me and they would think I was this Nazi skinhead, and it's like, no, dude, you should see what I do to Nazi skinheads.
Yeah,
You
it's
know
a
what I mean?
different
like, but so as far as who was at Gray Skull, there was a lot of my friends and people that were involved with that. So the racism thing wasn't there.
It wasn't a
again, like
thing.
you said, you'd have slurs and jokes in that community because nobody takes a case of the ass.
Well, because you're all
Nobody gets
brothers, it
fucking right.
doesn't matter.
But there was never any. There was never anything like that, and it's so orchestrated. It's so fucking forced on us by the
Yeah.
media, by the fucking politicians that want to pander and get a vote. And it's all horseshit. You put a bunch of kids together, different colors. They're playing with the fucking trucks. They're doing whatever they're doing.
Right.
Nobody's fucking looking. Oh well, you're a little black boy. I can't play with you. It's like that doesn't happen.
That's the parents.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't happen.
That's
It's
the
just
parents.
horseshit.
So we understand that Afro-Brutality spawned Villian6.
That is
So where
true.
are we going with Villian6?
So after
What are
10
we looking
years,
at? Right.
I'm marrying this nigga finally.
Guys,
10
you're
years
madly in
later,
love for 10
we're
years.
finally in
About time.
love. I said,
About time
"My
you put a
nigga,
ring on it."
please,
You finally
give
put
me
a
the
wig
ring.
on? No,
Probably
keep
did.
keep the
ring on.
tattoos.
Did probably
Yeah.
put a ring on it.
So we're finally gonna get this shit out.
And what is this shit?
So it's Villian6. It's a mixture of us both,
Right.
right? We're gonna tell our story. We're gonna live our lives.
Right.
We're gonna salute the people around us. We're gonna
And
bring
that's
it all
everybody.
in.
It don't
Yeah.
matter who. It doesn't matter
I deal
where
with so
your
much
fucking
racial
ancestors
shit with
grew up.
Afro-Brutality, man. You
Right.
have no idea. I get calls from different Midwest, states. Oh, Sin, they took it the wrong way. I had to explain
They
it to
took
them.
what the wrong way?
The fact that they're wearing Afro-Brutality. Some people take it a different way. They
What, that
take
it's
it
a-
like we're,
it's a
they want to
black power
attack black
anti-
people.
oh.
Yeah, or some dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
It's just confusion in that, in that marketplace on that level.
Right.
So I'm like, and he's dealing with his separate issues when he's done things. So
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, we're better together.
Right.
Let's put this together. And we came up with Villian6. And he'd have to give you the background on that. But it was me like, Johnny, I went and built this, man. Let's go. We're good now.
Yeah.
Let's get you out.
Let's start
Let's
a
make
different
this
strain.
happen. Yeah.
Right. So
Let's-
where do you
let's
see
not
Villian6 going, Johnny?
Well, I mean, again, like Sin's saying, there's a lot of stuff that he's run into, is just some walls or whatever, and some ways that people interpret that. different
The
things that he's
obstacle
done.
is the way.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
of course.
And that's where that's how you find it. And then I had Gray Skull for quite a while and all
Right.
that, and I kind of been on a hiatus for several years.
Right.
And but we were always on the same message. We always
Right.
had the same kind of thing. We had different backgrounds, different perspectives, but we were very similar. And then I
want to point that out. Say we take a fucking wide shot and we take a look at Sin, a black dude from fucking Harlem. We take a look at Johnny, a fucking white dude from Pennsylvania. These cats are the fucking same. Same cat on the same fucking
cat.
trajectory, same message.
I'm a far better dancer though.
You're a better
Oh,
dancer.
fuck
I don't.
yes.
That doesn't surprise
You
me for a
win.
second.
Hello.
Good to know. Good to know.
Far better dancer.
Yeah,
All right.
totally.
But yeah, I mean, and then obviously the veteran community, you know, that's
Right.
something I work in the veteran community, but professionally, and have a nonprofit I'm working on, a bunch of different things. And so
And we'll
constantly-
hit those in
Yeah,
follow-on
yeah,
episodes.
absolutely.
And I want to
But
go
I'm
into your
constantly,
backstory and your time in Afghanistan, all that.
constantly working with vets, so that's a big part of the Villian6 thing too. Is
Right.
That, you know, we're not that it's targeting veterans in particular. It's just targeting the idea of brotherhood. You know,
Right.
I mean, on the
Real
veteran
true
side,
shit.
The
Say again, real what?
The true shit.
Right, the true shit.
Just
exactly.
a picture
Saying.
right here is crazy for most people to even think of or
Right.
see.
but in
You know what I
dealing
mean?
with
I agree.
in dealing with the vet issues and, you know, obviously vet suicide and whatnot, one of the biggest drivers for that I always say is that when you get out, you lose your brothers.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're used to having a bunch of dudes around you that you're on the same page with, that you're absolutely see eye to eye with. They get your jokes, you get their jokes. You need something, they're there for you. They're there to fuck with you if you're making a bad decision. They keep you in line. You have your seniors, they're going to kick your ass and get you in gear, and then you have your juniors that you look after. And so that idea of brotherhood is everything. And that's the idea with Villian6 is that you have people that are about. It's more of an idea of a movement. Is you have people that are about what we're doing that can relate in a community sense that can relate to any piece of what we're doing.
Right.
And have that.
The reason, and I apologize for interrupting you.
Yeah, no problem.
And we were back on the reason why you're doing this, but I want to be clear and would say it's a community, because when we say brotherhood, it's possible that it sounds like that we don't want to include females, and that's not the fucking case.
I love females, man.
Dude, we all do.
I'm a big fan.
Anybody
Big
who's
fan.
listened to the
Make
show
sure
or
we get our shit straight.
anybody who's listened to the show, I'll be the fucking first one to tell you they're fucking better than we are. They're just better.
They're better
fucking.
organized.
They're emotionally stronger.
less emotional
They're
with
fucking.
shit.
They're fucking smarter.
Yeah, man.
And they just fucking get it done. You look at a group of little girls. There's a rhyme and reason for every fucking thing they do.
They're organized.
You look at a group of little boys. They run into shit until they figure out it fucking hurts, right? And then they do it again a couple
They're
times
learning.
just to make sure. But
learning,
anyway,
they're
the reason
building.
why you're doing this so you can rebuild that community and let people know, hey,
Yeah, it's about the community. That's what
Right.
it's about, you know. And I mean, it's going to take all kinds of different forms. I mean, Sin and I have dozens of projects that we've talked about,
Good.
you know, all different.
well, make sure you
areas,
write
all
that shit
different
down and
media.
don't
Yeah.
let Sin get too fucking stoned
I
and
know,
forget.
that's the problem.
What are you talking about? That's right.
I don't even know what we're talking about right now. We really just bring that up.
But the, you know,
Just to
Move
fuck
on,
with you,
Steve.
yes,
Move
I
on.
did. Go
the
ahead.
Villian6 brand and Villian6 movement is going to, you know, manifest itself into a lot of different projects, a lot of different areas.
Good. Well, that's exciting, and you'll be seeing more here at SOF Bad Monkey Studios. We're happy to have you guys on Villian6 Production,
Love being
Anytime.
here, man.
and we're going to be
Love
doing
being
more and
here.
more shit. So thank you guys both for coming. Anything else you want to put out before we cut loose here?
I love y'all, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.